Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into the real high-stakes action of football qualifiers. We're looking specifically at the recent COPACCHAI Super July Challenge Cup qualifiers. If you want the quick version, the shortcut to knowing who really punched their ticket and maybe some surprising facts behind how they did it, well, you're in the right place.
That's right. We've gone through quite a bit of material global football reviews, those detailed qualification results, match outcomes, the aggregates, everything. And we've tried to boil it down to the key insights for you. We'll cover the drama from both North and South Challenge Cups, men's and women's qualifiers.
Okay, let's get into it. Starting in the North region then with the men's qualifiers. And, well, right off the bat, some pretty big moments.
Yeah, it's interesting how fast some expectations just, crumbled. Like, take Caudal Luero from Colonia. Seeded team, right? Should have. Maybe. Cruised. But they drew Baihena from Reese. Brian Reese is always producing talent, and Baihena is their biggest champion. And Baihena, they just came out flying. Went up 3-0 in the first leg. That wasn't just a win, it felt like a statement. Basically sealed it right there.
Wow.
Yeah, then they just managed the second leg, drew 1-1, job done.
So a really rough start for Cluvia's big hope there. Okay, so if that was dominance, what came next sounds like a classic underdog story. Lusha Burren, also from Rays, against Penryn, a much more established club apparently.
Oh, absolutely. This was, for many, the upset. Lusha Burren beat Penryn, yeah. And they didn't just scrape by either. They won both games. The second leg was this incredible 4-3 match. Finished 5-3 on aggregate.
Amazing. How did they pull that off?
It really defied the odds. Just fearless attacking, especially in that second leg.
Yeah.
It showed so much belief, Sometimes momentum and just sheer will can make all the difference in these high-pressure games. We also saw a bit of that spirit with Metropole from Avbrinja. Different outcome, though. They were facing favorites, Sagrapimentis from Alaria.
Right, and they lost the first leg pretty heavily, 3-0, so basically written off.
Exactly, written off.
Yeah.
But even staring down elimination, they didn't just roll over. They actually won the second leg 2-1.
Wow. Still went out, 4-2 on aggregate?
Yeah, they still went out. But that fight back in the second leg, it says a lot about their character. It's that kind of performance you really respect, even in defeat.
Definitely. Shows grit. Sometimes it's not just about qualifying, is it? It's about showing what you can do.
Precisely. Pushing a stronger team like that.
Then
we had what everyone was calling the main event. Ferenc from Vizia against Isles Alves from Colonia. A proper heavyweight clash.
And the first leg was tight, 1-1, setting up a tense second leg.
It really was. And it all came down to a late goal, wasn't it? 82nd minute, Ferenc scores, wins 2-1. That made it 3-2 on aggregate.
But there was more to that story, wasn't there? Something about Isles Alves.
Yeah, the context here is pretty crucial. Isles Alves were playing without their main player, Mejda, who was out injured. You just have to wonder, if Mejda had been fit, would that goal have happened? Could it have been different? That one injury might have changed everything for them.
Tough break. And that, combined with the other result, meant both Colonia men's teams were out.
Both out of the qualifying stage. Yeah, a really surprising and probably disappointing outcome for Colonia overall in the men's qualifiers.
Wow. Okay, a tough pill for their fans to swallow. Right, let's switch gears then. Let's talk about the women's qualifiers in the North. Seems like there was plenty of drama there too. Power displays and maybe some nail-biting finishes.
Oh, definitely. Gerdina from Alaria, for example. They looked really strong. 2 convincing wins against Stua Circavani from Vizea. Finished 4-1 on aggregate. That sends a message, doesn't it? They could be a real force in the group stage.
Sounds like it. Formidable. Okay, and then there was another Alaria team, Andrea Lagra, but they were like a surprise package, second division.
Yeah, exactly. Andrea Lagra qualified by winning their national cup, so coming into this, they were seen as a huge underdog. And they actually managed a 1-1 draw in their first game, which was impressive, against Samiana, one of Reese's top women's clubs.
But Samiana showed their class in the end.
They did. Second leg, Samiana just stepped it up, won 4-0, making it 5-1 overall, showed their experience, their depth. And speaking of Reese, well, their Wiggins teams had a fantastic qualifying round.
Right, because their other team, Juan Fartown, they had quite the comeback story, didn't they? Lost the first leg.
They did. Lost 2-1 to Una Palencia from Colonia. Looked like they might be out. But then they fought back, won the second leg 1-0, tied it all up, 2-2 on aggregate.
Which meant penalties.
Penalties, yeah. And Juan Fartown held their nerve, won the shootout 5-4. Just brilliant mental strength under pressure.
Incredible drama. Okay, so Reese had a great run. What about Colonia? After the men's disappointment, did they get some success here?
They did find some joy, yeah. In a Kate, their team, They had a pretty straightforward path, actually. They played Luni Naiva from Abrinja and won both legs comfortably 3-0 each time. So a dominant 6-0 aggregate win.
Okay, so at least one Colunia team made it through, but Reese, wow, 2 for 2 in the women's bracket. That's impressive.
Very impressive. Now, moving over to the South Challenge Cup qualifiers. The men's side was structured a bit differently. It actually needed 2 full rounds to sort out the final 4 teams for the group stage. Suggests maybe a deeper pool of competition there.
Interesting. 2 rounds. So what were the highlights from that first round?
Well, AME from Upper Dame, another region with a strong footballing history. They started really well. 2 solid wins against Asaro Awantore from Eastern Nubia. Finished 6-3 on aggregate. That was a strong opening statement.
Okay, setting the standard early. Who else stood out?
Miense from Encotes also looked good. They beat Desoto Magistrais, who are actually also from Upper Dame. Miense's tactics seemed clear. When big in the first leg, they won it 4-1. That gave them enough cushion to actually lose the second leg 1-0 and still go through 4-2 aggregate. Mark, huh?
So Desoto Magistrais was the only Upper Dayome team knocked out in that first round.
That's right. Shows how strong the other Upper Dayome teams were, I suppose. Oh, and also Soila Talib Wanderers from Mahiri, they did well. Beat Riaquila from Encotes, 6-2 aggregate. Confident performance.
So quite a bit of action just to get through round 1. What happened to round 2 then, the make or break stage?
Yeah, this is where the final 4 spots were decided. And AME, well, they just kept rolling. Faced a tougher team this time. AS Nobilta from Mahiri, but still won both games. Clean sheet across both legs, 4-0 aggregate. Just unstoppable.
Incredible consistency. And what about their rivals, CEBA, also from Upper Dame?
They followed suit, really. CBA also got through with 2 wins. They beat Shalatalab Wanderers, the team that looked good in round 1. 3-0 aggregate for CEBA. So, yeah, Upper Dame looking really, really strong in the men's competition. 2 teams through confidently.
Wow. Okay, what about Miense? Did their tactical approach work again?
It did. Pretty much the same story.
Yeah.
Miense played Aquila Ajara from Eastern Nubia, first leg. Resounding 4-0 win for Miense. Second leg, they lost 2-1, but it didn't matter. They were already through 5-2 on aggregate. Seems to be their strategy, get the job done early.
Clever. Okay, and the last spot. Sounds like it was a big matchup.
It was a clash between 2 seeded teams, Arca Pasabra from Eastern Nubia and the very strong Kozi FC from Mahiri. First leg was KG, 1-1. Looked like it could go either way.
But it didn't stay close.
Not at all. Second leg, Kozi FC just turned it on. Absolute dominant, 1-4-1. So 5-2 on aggregate for them. They confirmed their spot, and sadly for Eastern Nubia, that was their last team out.
Ouch. A decisive end to that tie. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Looking at the whole picture from both North and South qualifiers, what are the main takeaways? What does this all mean going forward?
Well, regionally, you'd have to say Risa made a big statement, particularly with that perfect record in the women's qualifiers. 2 out of 2 advancing. And Upper Dame, clearly very strong in the South men's competition, getting both AME and CEBA through, looking very comfortable.
Oh, they look like serious contenders.
On the other side, Colunia definitely had a tougher time. Losing both men's teams early in the North, that's gotta hurt. Though, you know, in Akate's performance, the women's bracket was a definite positive for them, a bit of a silver lining. And Eastern Nubia also struggled, seeing their last hopes dashed in those later rounds. Shows how tough these qualifiers can be.
And that theme of the underdog, it really came through, didn't it? Lasha Burns' massive upset is the obvious one.
Absolutely, that's a story people will remember. But even teams like Metropole, you know, showing that incredible spirit even when they were going out. It just reminds you, it's not always just about the win column. Sometimes it's about the fight, proving you belong.
Right, and it highlights those different ways teams get through, doesn't it? You've got the consistent dominance, like by Hannah or Gerdina.
Exactly, just clinical, never really looked troubled. But then you contrast that with, say, Wanfar Town, needing that penalty shootout win after a comeback, or Mionse, with that tactical approach of winning big early and then managing the second leg. Different styles, different paths, but they all got there in the end.
It really does give you a much deeper appreciation for the main Challenge Cup now, understanding all these stories and struggles from the qualifiers. It adds so much context.
For sure. It's not just a list of teams anymore, is it? It's about how they got there, the challenges, the unexpected turns.
So, thinking ahead then, as we look towards the main group stage, based on everything we've just talked about, the intense battles, the upsets, the different styles, what qualities, what characteristics do you think will be the most crucial for these teams that made it through? Is it going to be that consistent dominance we saw from some? or maybe that gritty underdog resilience, or perhaps something else like that tactical smarts from Maimans. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How will these early tests shape the rest of the tournament? Something to definitely think about.